Hey everyone, we are in Nizhny Novgorod, and all of us have got long faces, because we made it out here not even late at night, but rather early in the morning, because we were working on Rocky. We finally did some dyno tuning. Once we get a good night's sleep, we'll be in a good mood. We'll practice and do some quality drifting. We were obliged to make some changes before coming out here, so we extended the steering levers to loosen up the steering. We played around with the caster, steering angle, and so on. Today we're going to dial all of that in, and tomorrow during qualifying we'll watch Anatoly push hard into something.
Yeah, I'm overzealous when I'm thinking about the cash flow. I never had no handouts, just came natural. I've been tested so much, all these restless nights, all these different situations that I've been through. I seen pain trying to creep in through the window, but now I see you gotta separate yourself just to elevate. I keep some drink in my cup to see through the hate. Sometimes you gotta press the brakes. I got a lesson plan, follow my past mistakes. I swear I'm my best on my worst days.
Honestly, I don't even have any complaints about the steering. Everything seems to be on point. Steering weight is bang on. It actually feels perfect. I recommend you drive around until you get tired. It doesn't feel heavy at all. Still, you need to exhaust yourself. I actually wouldn't want it to be any lighter. Bent a new set of wheels. We need to order spares. Maybe stop hitting other cars? Of course he'll listen to me, he always does. Going out of Touch and Go 4 and towards 5, obviously you'll be fine. But moving towards Touch and Go 6 and 7, you don't need to be preempting the transition, you understand? The start of the bend. Anatoly, for fuck's sake, it's like you're not even listening. I'm trying to say you shouldn't overtake the lead car. You stick with him like so, stick by his side. But not for too long so that you don't hit the grass. But don't do this move. When your opponent starts to stabilize, here's what you need to pay attention to. When he's moving into a straight position, a split second before he straightens the car out and aims it for Touch and Go 7, that's when you should take action. Preempting it anymore, I mean, lots of drivers were going off course. At Touch and Go 7, we saw them going this way with the handbrake on, and from there things get even worse. Going from Touch and Go 7 towards the 8s from this position, guys were riding the handbrake and it was a total disaster. Anyway, at Touch and Go 7, stick with the leader for a bit longer. Try to read how the car... Apparently I was starting the transition a bit too early. Indeed you were. And when you transition early at Touch and Go 7, then you're riding the handbrake. You're struggling to hit the next one, so trust my opponent and stay on throttle. Nobody's saying anything about trust. You just need to keep track of him. He hits 7, all you have to do is just stick with him for a bit. You're watching him and sticking at his side. When you notice he's commencing his transition, you flick it, close the gap. And that way, in terms of line, you'll give yourself some space to then handily be able to hit the 8s. Are you following me? The 8s, the ones in the big curve. You work through all of that, you got the final clip left. Just make sure not to do what you did last time. Maybe we give you some overalls and you get behind the wheel? He'll make it work. You want to try my electric power steering? Nah, I got my own. It does center itself, doesn't it? Of course it does. You can try it. This is pretty nice. It is slightly heavier than normal power steering with a regular valve. But I'd say when you're moving, that it's lighter when you're moving. Yeah, this feels like normal power steering. But you don't always need it to be this light. Sometimes when it's a bit heavier, you get better car control, better tire feel. Awesome. So you're starting to lose speed, and you're transitioning into a wide angle. Yeah, man, your line is off. You need to be going wider, wider. I think I got it. So there's just that one mistake I'm making, right? Hold on. Over here, because you were going too narrow, you transitioned into too wide of an angle. If you go wider while trying to hit the clip, then you'll have better control of your angle, and you'll avoid this no-go zone over here. From there, you'll have a better exit over here. Did I hit the clip? You didn't. Oh, really? You'll have a better exit. From there, you're good. After you correct it slightly with a handbrake, you might want to avoid that. But okay, fine. Here he is continuing to go sideways. You see? And you're already attempting to transition, while he's still in the drift. And that's not what we agreed upon. What we discussed to see what he's doing? Here's where you need to start your transition. You got it? Let's watch that again. What was I doing wrong? You started your transition too early. It's all wrong, bro. Stick with him for a bit. Stick with him for a bit longer, and only start transitioning with him once you get to here. Look closely at the amplitude at which the car is rocking. Do you see it hopping around? I don't understand why it's doing that. Let me explain. I don't know why that happened. Listen, that really came as a surprise. So listen, you initiate, here you are rolling in a drift. That never happened to me before. You feel it going slightly off course, you get on the brakes, you load up the front end, then you let go. That's never happened to me. You might have pressed it again and that's what caused... This is the first time that's ever happened. Tell them to tighten up your struts. Maybe one of my tires half unseated itself, and then seated itself back on. Nope. I mean, that really sucked. That's how the struts work. That's never happened to me in my entire life. I hear ya. That was some kind of anomaly. Perhaps I hit the curb. You need to talk to your mechanics. Alex, but it's not supposed to do that. The left side is drooping a bit. A tire could have unseated itself. Something weird happened out there. I don't get it. Maybe we need to tighten up the rear end? Were you experiencing that in the morning? It started happening later, and intermittently, after we brought the rear end up. I think we need to bring the rear end down for this track, otherwise it hops around. But also something might be wrong with the shocks. These are the only ones I've got. Let's bring it down. What exactly? The rear end. Down to where it was. What, it really fell off? Yep. What the hell? As if the rod snapped. That would be it, yeah. No use dropping it then. That wasn't the issue. You broke it? Nope. It broke on its own. Oh, it broke on its own, you say. There goes my sleep. The shock absorber got disconnected. So all morning I was driving with no shock. Who the f*** tampered with this? Nobody. They've been on the car ever since. It had to have been you, dude. I absolutely f***ing hate those yellow cable ties. Alex, nobody tampered with the rear without your consent. So yesterday during practice, we ran into an unexpected issue. We were out practicing, but by the end of the session, we found out that one of the struts was disconnected. The thread on the rod was worn out, the strut pressed up against the tower, and was just wobbling around. This resulted in Anatoly's car jumping around like a mountain goat. Thankfully, I mean, you couldn't see it from the spotter's side of things, but from the judge's perspective, they sent us a video where you could clearly see the wheel being all over the place. Yesterday we fixed everything, went out for a 5-10 minute drive. The car was working just fine, and today we'll be practicing some more. The weather was dry yesterday, it's raining today. And now everyone has got an equal amount of practice in. Hopefully today we do well. Anatoly seems to be happy with how the steering is set up. And so now we wait, observe, and get ready. First qualifying attempt. And this is where things get serious. We have some serious players. Anatoly Sherbak has already once become best in qualifying and won an event. He might want to keep that ball rolling, and here we go. Anatoly Sherbak is off to a very aggressive start. He hits touch and go 1. He's on throttle, and the rear left wheel of his 200SX is scooting along the white line, well, as far as the conditions allow anyway. Moving along, touch and goes 3 and 4 he hits, but touch and go 5 he misses. But no big deal, he wasn't the first and won't be the last to do so. Now he's moving towards touch and go 6, which is the most valuable one. And he was right on the edge, now he carefully transitions, catching touch and go 7. From there he has to flick it to the best of his ability given the conditions. Anatoly slowed himself down there with the handbrake a bit too early, the idea being to accurately hit the 3 touch and go 8s. From there he makes the final transition, and he's on his way to the finish line. And that was quite an energetic run. But he had quite a few points removed. True that. 82.5, he needs to reevaluate his driving. 82.5. What do you think about that run? Did I do okay? Overall you did. Just be a tad more aggressive and you'll be golden. Anatoly Sherbak goes out for another qualifying attempt. He got 82.5 points for his first one, and here we go. Oh wow, he was close to the edge of the track there. His rear wheel might have even been on the curb. But Anatoly's able to hit touch and goes 2 and 3. He continues his run after slightly correcting, and this time he hits touch and go 5 instead of ignoring it. From there he goes for touch and go 6, and that's a 1.5 meter elevation change over a fairly short distance. He goes over touch and go 7 with his car twitching around slightly, but then that's unavoidable in these conditions, so that's just the condition of the racetrack. Now we see him hitting touch and goes 8/1, 2 and 3. From there he transitions into touch and goes 9 and 10. Oh, Anatoly, for crying out loud. One of his wheels went off course twice, at the start and closer to the end, but otherwise the scorecard is looking good. He scores 89 points, improving on his previous result. I should have pulled the handbrake one more time. I think one of your wheels might have hit the curb while you were initiating. What's my score? 89. You lost 4 points just for that. If you can fix that, you'll be on fire. I did slip up at the very end. It came up before, but it didn't occur to me this time. I should have let off the gas and pulled the handbrake a bit earlier. Sucks that I went off course at the end. Just for that, you lost 4 points. But you were able to hit touch and go 5. Touch and go 5 was totally on point. How was the initiation? Incredible. You might want to go a bit narrower, avoid the curb. Did I hit the curb? Yes, you did. We did fairly well with qualifying. We are in 7th place, but we qualified. We'll go straight into the top 16 tomorrow through a bye run. But today we do want to take part in a backwards entry contest. It'll combine a backwards entry and a 360 challenge. Anatoly really wanted to give it a shot, and we did change the steering angle. We'll see what happens. I mean, he often asks if he can initiate with a backwards entry, and now he's gonna have the opportunity to do it legally. Let's see what happens. We might even win something from Mr. Dobrovolsky's stash of booze, and whatever that is would make things quite a bit more fun for us later today in the evening. Alright, now we get Anatoly prepared, and send him out onto the track. Up next, we have a very aggressive driver, who likes to drive at dramatic angles, and to excite the spectators with smoky and spectacular drifting. Albeit he's not always able to pull that off, unfortunately. It is none other than Anatoly Sherbak. Anatoly Sherbak from Moscow in car number 37. That is a 200SX. Stay in there, come on. 4 wheels off. No, it was just 3. Oh, just 3, okay then. One of his wheels stayed on course, but he went into the grass, broke his splitter. They'll get it fixed. Now he's approaching the stands, and he's going to have to Here we go. Whoa, Anatoly, what's up? Oh, that's how you're gonna do it. And give it some gas. Oh, is one wheel? Nope. Oh, Anatoly. That was exciting to watch, though. He was carrying more speed before the 360. He even hits 9 and 10. It's more difficult the higher the speed. For sure. It's a damn shame he broke the splitter. The car doesn't look good at all without it. But Anatoly wanted to go nuts, and he did. Stop, stop, stop. You tore the splitter off. Don't want you to damage it any further. Competition day. The nice thing about being the manager is that you can chill while everybody else is working, because you've already done your part. I will have to work later though. Today the competition starts. In the morning we have practice, mobile service park, and after practice it's straight into the top 16.
What happened back there with the tire?
We had to find an alternative way to mount the tire. We're done practicing, but the tire shop has got one machine. Drivers are set to go out. A line is formed. All of the team managers are arguing who gets to go first. Nobody's fighting necessarily, but people are pretty pissed that the tire shop is taking its sweet time. I'll leave Mary to handle it. She's the director of operations.
Did they accommodate us?
Nope, Alex is waiting in line, I'm on the way. We're gonna figure this out. You won't believe it, but one of the cars isn't a BMW. That is Anatoly Sherbak with his Nissan 200SX. Up against isn't that amazing an E92 BMW with a 2J. This one is driven by Konstantin Kolganov. Interestingly, Anatoly Sherbak chose to follow first. He was higher in qualifying, earning 7th place against Konstantin's 10th. But let's see if it pays off. Konstantin Kolganov is leading. Anatoly Sherbak is following. They initiate pretty much in step. One of Kolganov's wheels did go off course, but he was able to hit touch and go too. Anatoly Sherbak is slowly creeping up behind, a nicely synchronized transition. And Kolganov is going really wide through this curve. But he misses touch and go 5. Anatoly Sherbak is close behind, and he's able to stay in step. There we have touch and go 7. We see Anatoly Sherbak catch up to his opponent while at minimum angle, but there's still a bit of a gap between the two cars. Well done, Anatoly, you killed it out there. You're at a slight advantage. Did he make any mistakes? He did. Can I have a look? By all means. Oh, he missed that one and went off course. The inner touch and go, he missed a bunch of clips. Off you go, man. Here we go. Konstantin Kolganov launches slightly prematurely. Yeah, he jumped the start. Thankfully, they didn't drive too far away. They'll promptly return to the line. And we're about to witness how these two and their cars, of course, go out for a second run. And here we go. Finally, these two are off, and they're off to a good start. Konstantin knows what time it is. He's sticking close to the lead car. He initiates with a slight delay and moves inwards, which is the right call if he wants to close the gap. And Anatoly Sherbak misses touch and go 3. Well, that was surprising. But he's able to hit touch and goes 4 and 5. Konstantin Kolganov is pretty close. And as for 6, Anatoly Sherbak didn't seem to be quite on point. A well-synchronized transition. Konstantin Kolganov slows down, he attempts to charge, but Anatoly Sherbak has already pulled way too far away. He's only able to catch up by here. From there, he should be able to come even closer. And there we go. He was actually pretty close at the line. But he has no chance. Anatoly Sherbak is the winner of this heat. Props to him. Congratulations, Anatoly. We thank Konstantin Kolganov for his efforts, and Anatoly Sherbak will be up against Alexei Bakhvalov. You did really well, but you missed a clip. Which one? Touch and go 3. Is that the inner? No, the one before it. Oh, so I blew past it? Yep, had me a bit nervous. What about the inner touch and go? That one you hit. I also thought I nearly hit the no-go. You were close to it, so I was right on the edge? Yes, you were. You sort of cocked up the initiation. The front end is a bit wishy-washy. That's why I decided to follow first, to warm up the rears. No worries, man. You know what? For the top 8 battle, I'd prefer to start in the chase position. That's not a given, though. You are up against Bakhvalov. Oh, he might put me in the lead. Bingo. Alexei Bakhvalov, as he usually does, chooses to start by leading. Anatoly Sherbak will be following then. Anatoly does have a slight power advantage, but let's see if he can turn that power advantage into an edge when it comes to speed. But for now, he has to display some aggression in the chase anyway. Alexei Bakhvalov initiates, and one of his wheels does go slightly past the white line. But then Anatoly Sherbak also went off course while violently correcting right around touch and go 2. Moving along, we see that Anatoly Sherbak has adapted to the leader's rhythm. He's doing pretty well. And now the 200SX lunges at the lead car while transitioning, almost getting stifled by it. But he was able to shed the speed, and what a transition that was, my oh my. What was that, the 4th one? Yo, Artyom, what's up? Can we take 5 to adjust the toe angle? It feels a bit off. Alex, I need a 5-minute timeout. Check and adjust? Get me the toe plates and some wrenches. Are you sure you made contact? I'm positive. Alex, he says there was a collision. If so, can you ask whose fault it is? Was there really? Anatoly says there was. Was there contact? I guess. There we go. 12, we're good. It was his fault. Let's do this. And now we get to the second portion of this battle. And given that Alexei Bakhvalov was at fault for their incident, Anatoly Sherbak has got a pretty noticeable advantage. That's true, Anatoly Sherbak doing what he did was ultimately caused by Alexei Bakhvalov. But now it's time for round 2, and let's see what happens. The second portion of the battle between Alexei Bakhvalov and Anatoly Sherbak, they initiate. Alexei Bakhvalov keeps his distance during the initiation. Anatoly Sherbak misses the second touch and go. Meanwhile, Alexei Bakhvalov follows at a moderate distance, they transition. Anatoly needs to hit touch and go 5, which he does with confidence. Alexei Bakhvalov continues in the chase, and the extra power of Anatoly's car isn't really translating into a speed advantage. But then Alexei Bakhvalov still seems to be having some trouble following. From the looks of it, Bakhvalov is experiencing some issues. Looks like he lost engine power. To me, it seemed as if he was down on power from the very start. In any case, all 3 judges, Andrei Ostapov, Stanislav Dolgich, and Vladimir Safonov, unanimously rule in favor of Anatoly Sherbak. He becomes the 3rd semifinalist in the pro category. Congratulations. I am losing my fucking patience. Anatoly has got me on edge. Give me 5, man. Well done. We're about to watch the second semifinal battle, the second semifinal heat. Between 2 drivers with radically different driving styles. And to our joy, we don't see a single E92. 2 very different cars, engines, drivers, 2 different ideologies. We pretty much got 2 different realities clashing. And let's look on. Andrei Ryabov in the lead, Anatoly Sherbak following, which was his decision, by the way. Once again, based on his results in qualifying, Andrei Ryabov misses touch and go 2, Anatoly Sherbak keeping some distance in the first turn. They transition and enter sector 2. Anatoly Sherbak is on his opponent's door, but it is hard to keep up with such a quick driver who allows a wheel to go off, with Anatoly Sherbak having to slow down after the transition to avoid getting stifled by the leader. From there, Andrei Ryabov misses a good 2 clips. Anatoly Sherbak has a slight delay with his transition. Oh, be careful, man, and they're over the line. So when it comes to lead runs, you shouldn't overdo it. You need to have a clear mind and realize how one thing leads to another. If you've never done something like that before, then you're better off not even trying. That's true, when you're being judged. And here we go. Anatoly Sherbak is in the lead now. Andrei Ryabov is following. The 2 cars are getting up to speed. Anatoly Sherbak initiates aggressively as per usual. He is on throttle in time, though he did apply a bit of handbrake. But from there he keeps going like it's nobody's business. Not sure if he hit touch and go 2, but Andrei Ryabov is all over his opponent. But after the first transition, things seem to fall apart. Is this another case of tires unseating themselves? Nope, the rears of that E30 seem to be producing quite a lot of smoke. And in the touch-and-go 8 curve, Andrei closes the gap and is super close to his opponent at the end. Hats off to Andrei there, but let's wait for the decision. And Anatoly Sherbak will meet with Valery Bogacharev in the final race. The last 4 contenders standing: Konstantin Kolganov, Alexei Bakhvalov, Andrei Ryabov, Anatoly Sherbak, and Valery Bogacharev. They're contending for the win in the pro category. Let's give them a round of applause. And now we get to the final race. Valery Bogacharev from Rostov-on-Don driving a BMW E92 with a 2JZ GTE is in the lead. Anatoly Sherbak from Moscow driving a Nissan 200SX with a 700 horsepower 2J will be following. And here we go, they get up to speed at the same rate. A bit of countersteer and they initiate. That 200SX pops out from behind the BMW. Anatoly Sherbak is really aggressive, sticking with his opponent till the transition. He lets off and is back on. And on the descent, the two cars are really close together. Valery Bogacharev hits touch-and-go 6. A very well-synchronized transition by Anatoly Sherbak, who dove inside and got really close to the lead car. At this critical stage of the competition, Anatoly Sherbak maintains his aggression, and that was just crazy. And now Anatoly Sherbak is in the lead with Valery Bogacharev following. Here we go, round 2 of this heat. Valery Bogacharev needs to get off to a really aggressive start, which he sort of fails to do. But he closes the gap while approaching touch-and-go 2, but then... And that's a wrap. But Anatoly still needs to make it to the finish line. Anatoly Sherbak definitely needs to make it to the finish line, as he is the leader for this round. And the chaser spinning out doesn't matter in terms of the leader seeing things through to the end. If it were the inverse, when the leader spins out, that means the chaser doesn't have to make it to the end. Here he is crossing the finish line. Now we wait for a decision, and there you have it. A second victory for Anatoly Sherbak from Moscow. Well done. That was awesome. The 4 of us now, we're all within a range of 22 or 24 points. You, me, Bogacharev, and Sergey. Cool. That's some intense competition. What do you think about the final round? Yeah, man, that was right on the money. That was terrific. You were on throttle when descending towards touch-and-go 5. You were finally confident enough to smash the gas. When I turned left? Yeah, man, your driving was on point. Everything worked out great. Whoever failed to fell behind? Hats off to you, man. Thank you. I think this couldn't have ended any better. When we won in Ryazan, that came out of nowhere and we were like, what? But this time around, there was a proper build-up. The previous event, we knew that things might go very wrong. And they did, of course. For this event, we rectified any past mistakes. And that paid off. Now, it did take some effort to dial in his lead runs, but we put in the work. And his performance was bang on, especially for the final round. That was just amazing. I mean, usually he's good through one sector and not so much through another one. It's typically 1 out of 3, but in this case, Anatoly did a great job through Sector 1, then through Sector 2, and through Sector 3 as well. I'm referring to his chase run. While leading, we did have to make some corrections. It became clear after watching the replay how he could hit all of the clips, which he was then able to do, and props to him. So the car didn't let us down, all of us did our part, Anatoly posted a great result, and that is awesome. This was very much a case of do what you should and come what may.